Oh, good. We're gonna have Dirk too, and Horrendous, and McLeod. They just blew up at the last second. Yeah, let's do it. Even if it's just you talking, everyone else.
Ready's will never be.
What? We're ready to go live? We go good? All right. We have to do it that way. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Push to Talk, coming to you live from the East Ashburn, Virginia data center of Twitch. Yay! Okay. You only get to see me on video today because, you know, I'm not sure, but I think Kayla's mad. So, anyway, welcome to another episode, folks. We have Horrendous, Donrea, McLeod, and soon TM, Dirk, after he gets alcohol because he needs it for today. Woohoo!
Wait, if it's Dirk and alcohol, does that mean we're getting drunk, Dirk?
We're getting drunk, Dirk.
I don't know if we're gonna get drunk, Dirk. It
Who
might
knows?
just be
We're getting something.
hungover, Dirk.
Hungover Dirk, crazy Dirk. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? You know. Dirk made it. Did he? I don't know. I don't know. We don't know if Dirk made it or not. All we know, ladies and gentlemen, I have bad. You know, it's really bright coming in through the window, so it's drowning out some of my other lighting here.
Is it really bright because of all the white snow that you have?
It is, because, you know, when I look straight, like right out here, right out the window, my neighbor's roof is slightly above me, and it's just perfect for the sun coming and right in my face. So, it's just the way it is, folks.
You know how to fix that, don't you?
Yeah, close the window.
It's called curtains.
Curtain thing. Blinds. Blinds.
I was going to say burn his house down, but
I should really get some blinds sometimes. But you know what? That cost adds up. It gets expensive. Because you got to get one for each window, and then you have to get someone to do it.
We have to replace all our blinds and everything because here in April, I guess I should order them, but I don't really have the measurements until they put them in. So we're getting all new windows, right? All new windows, all new wood around the windows, everything. The entire house is getting done, and I have a mere like 25 windows. 2 of them have custom.
That's why.
Bay windows, 2 sets of bay windows. I mean, it just all has to be done, right? You can imagine how bad that's going to be. But they say they'll do it all in 2 days. So
yeah, that's pretty standard.
But yeah, so yeah, we're getting all new windows.
I work with that, so I know how
big the job is. They say they'll do it in 2 days.
Yeah, but we have, you know, the windows aren't flush with the wall, right? They're set back like 4 inches, so they need 4 inches of wood, and then the wood framing trim and all that. They got to do all that. It's crazy. And then the windows go in. So, you know, 25 years, you need new windows. Mary did the roof. Now we do the windows.
See, and that's why when I bought my condo, I was very excited about all the windows had already been replaced. So I'm like, thumbs up. I don't have to do that for a long time. I do need a new front door though, because mine is not. Mine's not square. Like it's not plums. Like if you stand staring straight at it, you can tell that it like is sagging to the right, like down.
Yeah.
And so the bottom's not quite sealed, and so I have like a towel just to keep cold air from coming in. It's not like ugly or a big issue, but it's like, man, I'm gonna have to get a new door at some point.
Yeah, ours is slightly off. We got to go out to Lowe's because we have a wraparound porch. We have a couple posts out front. It used to be that we had 3 flagpoles that went off of that. Now we only have 1. We took them down to paint them, but then my boys forgot where they put a couple of them. So we have to go out and get a new flagpole and a new thing to put on one of them because our Ukrainian flag came yesterday. So we have.
Yay!
Yay! Is that a wild McLeod finally here, hooked up to his sound correctly?
Indeed, it is.
Indeed, it is. You have such a radio voice. It's excellent.
I got a radio microphone. I got a good microphone and everything like that. So yeah, that's why.
We should do Radio Live New Eden. That should be a show.
Yeah.
Or should we change the name to show Radio Live New Eden? I don't know.
No.
Depends. Depends on how many more times Rattati opens his mouth in the next 2 weeks, right?
Oh, I thought we had to wait for 13 more minutes to talk about each. So,
sorry. We won't.
No,
sorry, my bad.
Party foul. But you can't.
Party foul.
Dirk's not here, so I mean, you know.
Yeah, party foul.
But I wanted to say, so last week was my birthday, and I had a birthday weekend. That's why I wasn't on the show, because we spent my week. Normally on my birthday weekends, we try to go to a city a couple hours away that I would never do a normal vacation to. But just, So
Detroit, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Sorry. So someone was chips. Okay, so
it looks lovely, right? Instead of apple juice, I was able to get it to work with Red Bull, and so that it just looks glorious. Yeah. Like, it's all good.
And so for my birthday weekend, we didn't want to go too super far since I just did Washington D.C. We went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and very exciting. And we did some shopping, and then we did a murder mystery dinner theater. This.
Oh yeah. Who did die? Who died? Who did he kill?
I did figure out who died, or who killed who, but I didn't get the answer correct on the sheet. I wrote down my thought, and then 2 minutes later, my mom and her best friend went with me. We were all sitting there. I was like, dang it was this, and I was right at the end. But I was like, we ended up actually having 2 actors sitting at the table with us. We didn't know it, but we were guessing, and it was really funny. It was 3 hours long, and the dinner was actually really good. So if you need something to do and you're in Indiana, I would say check it out.
Okay. Yeah. When I flip between a couple things, I mute sometimes. But yes, this is McLeod's new drink, so let us discuss. This is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's the bottom half is Red Bull, right? The top half is kind of like a mixture between white rum and blue curacao.
You gotta love the blue curacao.
Yeah. The thing is, and I screwed this up so many times, right? You can't just pour straight blue curacao into it, otherwise it will just fall to the bottom.
Right.
You have to mix it with something that might kind of basically dilutes it and essentially makes it sort of lighter in terms of density than whatever's underneath it.
Vodka.
Which can be vodka or rum, basically a white, some kind of white alcohol. Yeah, either one. It just depends on which one you want to mix or which one you have handy, right?
You've got to go. I wonder if that would work with Hypnotic too.
I don't know, maybe.
We'll try it.
But you need to add a lot of ice to that. So one of the other tricks is if you don't want it to mix so it goes yellow, then green, and then blue.
Mm-hmm.
You have to basically stack it full of ice, crushed ice. Not super crushed, but pretty crushed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you obviously you add the Red Bull at the bottom, and then you slowly add the mixture of blue curacao and white vodka or rum.
Yeah,
slowly at the top, and then.
Did you use a spoon to slowly add it, or you just kind of poured it?
No.
And let the stuff slow it down.
No. If you have ice in there, it will slow it down. Plenty.
Okay, enough. Yeah. Okay. Just do the slow.
Really starting to look good, Mac.
That looks.
It looks.
I love it.
Beautiful, right?
I like things when you get things gem tone. It's kind of cool looking. So that's an excellent drink.
Yeah.
So you drinking that right now?
I am going to make one in a little bit, yes. But I was rushing around. And I thought I'd get on the comms before actually making one. But I had the picture from yesterday anyway.
You know, I have a newly minted 21-year-old, right? So it's now fun when we go out to dinner, right? And it's funny when he forgets his ID and tries to order alcohol and gets carded because we all laugh at him. And but last night we got a couple big Guinnesses, had some Guinness, enjoyed it with his meal.
Very nice.
And it's funny because like he's the first cousin to turn 21. The other two are still 18, right? I think one will turn 19 a little later this year, and then another one will turn 19 early next year. So they got a couple years to catch up to him, right? So he's like, "Yeah, I'm drinking alcohol at dinner with you guys."
You Americans and your rules about that, like it's mad.
Hey,
Madness.
Preaching to the choir, brother, because I grew up in a we were Italian and German, and we're mostly Italian in a lot of things that we did, and either way, I mean, when it was it was holidays or whatever, we definitely were drinking alcohol. We were like 10, okay, and it was always funny because my sister, she'd get a little tipsy, and then she'd every year at Thanksgiving she'd like sneak out a little dirty joke or something that was like family thing, and it was all funny because she was a little tipsy, but we were allowed to drink anytime we wanted at our house. I mean, I was never told no, But yeah, the rest of society, yeah, they're pretty tough on it. Maybe if kids, got drunk at 10 and knew what it was like and learned not to drive at 10 because they were drunk, maybe we wouldn't have so many problems about that. I don't know. I'm not the genius. I'm not talking about policy. I'm just saying, maybe. Of course, when I went to college, I might have drank a lot too, but
you might have.
Just had a few beers. We're talking. What the hell were we talking
College,
about?
though.
Mickey's Big Mouth. Who were we talking about that to? And they're like, "What's a Mickey's Big Mouth?" We're like the hand grenades, right? So Mickey's had. I don't know if in Europe do you have them? Do you have like the little Huggy juice boxes? They're in little plastic containers with little aluminum foil tops on them, just pushed around them, and they have like different juice colors, but they really all taste the same, right?
Nothing like that, but we do know what a juice box is. Yeah.
No, not a juice box. These look like little barrels. They made the plastic even textured like little, wine barrels almost, right?
Oh, yeah,
Brenda's knows what I'm saying, right? And
oh God, yes.
And you raise your children on this sugar water because it's not pop, right?
Those came before juice boxes because paper, because they did the molded plastic, but long before they could get paper to actually like hold liquid.
Yeah. Well, they really just bond the paper with aluminum foil type stuff, right?
Yeah, but like they couldn't do that back in like the 70s and shit.
Yeah. So there's a beer that's in a similar thing, but it's glass and a little bigger. And it's called Mickey's Big Mouth, and it's malt liquor. It's not just beer, right? And it had a pull tab, that little aluminum thing that you see on the Huggies, right? It wasn't much different, but you just pulled the tab across it. So then you had a round opening like this with down the sides, right, were very sharp metal edges, and you drank this, right? It's called a hand grenade, we call them, right? So Mickey's Big Mouth. And, if you didn't cut your lips for your drinking session, you were awesome. But there might have been some blood spilt drinking those.
Just a little, yeah.
What is it? Red Lions, like, yeah. All right, so yeah, I mean that's some of the stupid stuff we did when we were young, right? Because Mickey's Big Mouth, it's cheap, it tastes terrible, but it gets you drunk really quick.
And that's the point. It's like a friend of mine was once asked, you go in and you buy like, a 6-pack of Sam and then 3 6-pack of Coors. What the hell is the point? He's like, well, after the first 6, you don't give a shit what it tastes like.
There you go. Sam Adams is not a beer I like.
Well, this was like the 90s. It wasn't like there were really a whole lot of really great American beers around here.
I mean,
should try.
I used to
should try Samuel Jackson.
Samuel Jackson.
That's right, Sam Jackson beer. Totally different. The tagline: "It will fuck you up."
Yeah, I just like, now that I'm older, I'm like, beer, yeah, it kind of fills me up. It's fizzy, not my thing. I'm much more inclined to like just drop a few martinis, a couple Moscow Mules,
Yeah.
and other hard drinks more than the beer, because you gotta drink a lot of beer.
Well, like I say, this was like 25 years ago. So
Yeah. Oh
you
yeah,
know.
no, me too. 25 years ago, I used to love the microbrews and all that. Now it's like,
Yeah.
oh no, it just messes with my stomach, man. Just give me Michelob Ultra if I'm drinking beer.
If I want to get fucked up, I just want to get fucked up. If I don't want to get fucked up, I don't feel like tasting the alcohol.
So the great thing, this bar I go to, you can be in the drinkers club, the beer drinkers club. Let's just call it that. And they give you a nice big mug, and you get, like, for the same price, you get 4 ounces more beer than everybody else because you're in the beer club, right? Doesn't matter what it is. But of course, you know what everybody does? They don't use their mugs for beer. They just say, give me, whatever mixed drink in my beer mug, right? So you have this giant beer mug mixed drink, right? So
Yeah.
Just give me some vodka, some soda, and slice up some oranges and limes and throw them in there. And then you drink that. You're really drunk. So welcome to the Drunk Show.
Push to drunk.
Realistically,
which we're pretty much. We have 2 more minutes. Sorry, 2 more minutes.
No. Right, this week we said that we'd waive the.
Oh, we
20-minute rule.
We waive
for
the
everyone
20
but
minutes.
Dawn.
Bye-bye. See ya. Bye-bye. 20-minute rule.
But Dirk, Dawn wanted to wait.
Yeah.
That's
That's what we want. We've accustomed Dawn to the 20-minute rule, but we're waiving it for everybody else. Dawn still has to apply.
but
if he keeps
but Dawn realized that there's a bug in the rules there, and if she waits, then it's a reversal, and we can't speak about it.
No,
I'm just gonna leave your drink up there the whole show. I don't care. I'm just leaving it up there. It's just beautiful. Everybody drink.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
But yeah, it really is the only way to deal with the absolute bullshittery that we've seen this week.
Hold, wait. Bullshittery?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the electric company in Sesame Street. Ladies and
Of
gentlemen,
all sorts of
Push to
things.
Talk Show is sponsored by the word bullshittery today.
Rancorch, as usual, we have a Dirk, but not that Dirk.
Yeah. A Dirk.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That might be my fault when they were saying that you were showing up and there would be drinking. I made a crack about drunk Dirk, so people might be expecting,
Drunk Dirk.
Dirk.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Does he even still play the
there
game?
There are 3 Dirks in Eve. There is myself, there is Dirk McGurk, and then there is Dirk Johnwood. And we are in order. Well, Dirk McGurk is drunk Dirk. Dirk Johnwood is evil Dirk. And I'm just, I don't know, whatever the fuck I feel like on the day.
The other Dirk.
The other Dirk. I'm good with that.
The loud one. Or the slow talking one, depending upon who you're talking to.
See, the thing is, Dirk Johnwood, like, he has a complex called the Dirkness.
The Dirkness.
Dirk, I think you only talk slow on Theta Thursday. Everywhere else, you're like kind of close to normal pace, but there you slow down a lot more. Do you think we're slow?
I would never say such a thing.
He'd think it real loud, but he wouldn't say it.
Yeah, I would never say such a thing.
Out loud. So, are we going to crack into the juicy meat of this week?
Never do that again.
Yeah, never.
No less than any other American trying to do a British accent, so you're fine.
Was that supposed to be a British accent? I thought it was a bad Australian. Second dumbest.
Eric is apparently muted, according to Twitch chat.
Oh, okay.
Eric has his, classification of CCP employees. We have the number one dumb CCP employee. We all know who that is. Starts with an H. We have the second most, starts with an R. Did he open his mouth again and do things I tell him not to do all the time?
No, they did something even worse. The marketing
It was
guys
almost-
got hold of
Yeah,
everything.
this was marketing.
And they decided, Eric, in all of their infinite wisdom, that they would sell ships for real money.
Fitted ships.
Fitted!
Ish. Fitted-ish. They don't have rigs. But,
Right,
you know,
but,
they
yeah.
have modules of some quality.
Was this a recommendation from PGL or something? Like,
I don't fucking know.
No, that would have been borrowing them.
So yeah, CCP are now selling in their Prospector pack, which retails for 25 US or 20 GBP or some amount of euros. A pack that includes a month worth of Omega, 100 Plex, a fitted retriever with all the skill books that you need to use the modules that they ships that they provide you with.
all
and
the skill
also,
points.
quote unquote, tokens to redeem for skill points and ship insurance.
So basically, they're selling shit.
Well, it wasn't really tokens. Like, it was actually when you opened the pack, it gave you the skills and installed the skills required for the retriever, essentially. So
and gave you ship insurance. They mentioned that in the pack.
Yeah, they did mention it in the pack. Yeah.
Like, this is just kind of like a what the fuck moment. What the actual fucking fuck are you thinking moment?
And this isn't a ship that you get, like, that you would get, like, say, for example, if you did a particular mission or did a particular bit of the sort of, like, new player experience, and at the end of it gives you, like, a destroyer, for example. Like, This is something that you don't get, like, by doing the normal new player kind of, like, sort of progression.
And this is something you don't have to do stuff in space to get.
Yeah, this is directly infringing upon player activity in a player-driven economy in a game for players.
Oh, now that's a stretch.
Yeah, sorry, but I had to say it.
That last one.
I'm not sure we're in that kind of game anymore.
Well, no, we're in a game that is about, how can CCP keep the lights on and afford all of the stupid-ass marketing people who are making decisions instead of actual developers to develop a game that players want to pay for.
Oh god! I mean, I'm sitting here. I mean, we've definitely gone to the pay to play, pay to win. I mean, that's where EVE is. The question is it worth it to even play it anymore? Really? I mean, seriously.
Goony asking in Twitch chat, was it an announcement of some sort, or is it a thing for real? Oh, buddy. Oh, pal.
They went straight from the announcement into actually putting it, like, in the game right away.
After they implemented it.
Yeah, then they put out a pulse video for it.
Yeah,
and I would like to add that, like, not only does Matterall like it, Matterall really advocates the sale of the direct sale of Titans as well. So,
all right,
just so you know,
look, Gold Ammo CSM campaign man does not get an opinion on whether or not this is good or bad.
I don't care about his opinion unless it, like, basically makes more people mad at him, and that's fine by me.
Like, Jesus fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna stoop so low that I make shit up to make people mad about him. But, like, I am gonna tell people, like, stuff that he advocates.
So let me ask you a dumb question. So if I'm on my little retriever, right? I'm on my little retriever, mine, boom, I get blown up. Right, I'm dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Can I go buy another one?
I think so.
It will come with
pack once.
I think we should do that for every ship.
Right.
Once per account. Are you sure about that?
I think.
Is it?
So selling ships.
So I just make another.
Is fine as long as I can only buy one.
So
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think you can only buy it once per account. So you basically, have to spin up another 100 or so throwaway accounts to use.
Right.
Just as a thing, like, CCP has done this whole, they're dropping a pack that has something that they're selling that's egregious, and we're all like, what the actual fuck? And then they've gone, oh, right, sorry about that. We should probably, like, restrict that in some way, shape, or form. And we go, yeah, totally, we should fucking restrict it. And then they go, okay, well, yeah, fair enough. All right, we'll do that then.
Araya is telling us in Twitch chat that you can buy another one, but the value of the pack diminishes because it still includes the skills that you already have.
Oh, okay, so it's infinite. So we have infinite retrievers. It just means that, like, the skill points that you would get, like, you don't get those skill points to allocate somewhere else. Like, you'll just get the the omega time as such.
And in a puff of smoke, a new retriever is built. Not built, created, spawned. CCP have officially
the darkness.
Developed a god complex.
Unlimited retrievers.
It's a god complex. They've decided, you know what, fuck it, we can do whatever the fuck we want.
I mean, I wonder what
they get conjured out of nowhere.
I mean, I wonder how the live team kind of thinks about that. Like,
I'm just curious. Those can be reprocessed, right?
Probably. We could, just
I mean, it's a
minerals,
retriever. I imagine so.
Buy minerals.
Yeah.
We can buy. We don't have to mine. We can just buy them.
It's a bit expensive,
awesome.
but if you want to.
I mean,
sure, it's a bit expensive, but I mean,
yeah, we're rich. Who the fuck cares?
It can be done, right?
So, I feel like I should ask this. Like, what's the good thing about it? What's the bad thing about it? I feel like we really don't need to talk about the good about it, because I'm fairly certain CCP. I'm fairly certain that CCP knows all the good, all the positive things about it, because that's the reason why they fucking put it out. So really, what we should use this platform, what we should use our time to do, is to educate CCP as to that there are actually bad sides to this, and we should really stipulate what those are. Right?
So I think we can spare the hour or two that it would take to elucidate all of the good things about this.
Yeah.
Would you have to find them first, Orendis? Is that why? Are you digging for the good things?
Okay, I'm just going to point out, this is a red solo cup filled with vodka just for this show.
But I mean, yeah,
guys, it's water.
I can't not
it's just water.
I can't not see those cups and think beer pong. Sorry.
Yeah.
Beer pong. Actually, I can't see. Well, no, they don't actually do them with these. They do them with actual beer mugs. There's a game Roethlisberger plays with the beer mug.
Yeah. Brisk, there is literally no way that we couldn't cover, not touch this topic today. So, apologies, but really not apologies, because we ain't skirting this one.
Hey, you know what? If you don't want us to cover your material, give us your material in advance, okay? That's all I can say. We're like the opening act. We're like that opening act. Nobody knows who the fuck they are, and then there's the meta show. Okay, we just prep.
Some of this material is just too good to avoid.
I know you are, I know you are, buddy. I love you.
This utter crap. I mean, realistically, if you think about it, it's all anybody's been talking about for the past 3 fucking days since they announced it. And by the way, CCP still haven't said anything.
But guys, it's just a retriever.
For the well, no, I want to say this for the sake of the audience.
Thin wafer.
The fact that CCP haven't said anything after 1,300 upvotes on Reddit on our eve, which makes it one of the 10 highest upvoted posts of the last year,
and 864 responses in the thread on the Evo forums.
And 864 responses on the Evo forums. CCP haven't said anything. They haven't gone, hey guys, we hear you, we're gonna pull this. They haven't pulled it. They posted a Pulse video yesterday, which outright fucking promoted this. Yeah. They aren't pulling this back, guys. Yeah. They would have done it already if they were going to.
Mm-hmm. Let's put it this
way.
And
yet, just,
CCP needs money.
Just remember, guys. just remember, guys, for everyone saying, well, it's just a retriever, okay? This hit at the same time as the compression changes, which means while the coveter will pull down more ore faster, if you're going to be doing long-term mining in HiSec and you're not using an Orca, because let's face it, the Orca is just a boosting ship now, you're using a retriever.
Yep. And, you know, to be completely honest, you're not
the most in-demand hull in HiSec for mining.
And I'll let you into a secret. Like before the Rorqual became the thing, you know, the go-to ship for mining, you know, before it was boosted and all that kind of stuff, like by CCP, people in nullsec ran like individually, like a single guy would run 10, 15, sometimes 20, like mining barge kind of accounts, like their own personal mining fleet of like mining barges or exhumers, like one or the other, right?
And it would be retrievers or machinors.
And you would make them follow your Orca. Literally, you would make them follow your Orca, and your Orca would slowly go across the pull everybody across the asteroid field, and you just mine the fuck out of it as you went by.
And
so if you
and we're back to using subcaps like that in Null now with the changes too.
Yeah,
but what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, that was the meta before the changes to the Rorqual, right? We obviously, you know, the Rorqual's been nerfed, so it's not really a mining ship anymore at all. It's just a boosting ship. So we're back to, like, you know, going back to that kind of time where people had those sorts of things. And so, you know, it's kind of plain to see that CCP knows this, and CCP knows that there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to want to spin up a whole bunch more mining barge alts.
Right.
And these are literally the perfect thing.
But I have a question.
Plus,
right?
Plus they completely, you know, they completely cockblock all of the people who, you know, would generally be, you know, building and selling.
I was just going to say that.
Right? Retrievers.
Yeah. So what about all the people that had retrievers in build and all that stuff? And, you know, they spent their in-game currency and all that.
Now, a lot of people would say that, like, oh, but it's super expensive for just buying a retriever. The thing is, you're not just getting a retriever for it. You're getting a whole bunch of other stuff. The actual value in the pack is not the retriever. It's everything else. It's just that you get a retriever along with it.
And you know what? Even if you look at it as it's super expensive for a retriever, yeah, it is super expensive for a retriever unless you're, you know, like Eric, where you've got plenty of cash offline and you got like maybe 5 minutes to do shit in your average day, so you don't have the time to make ISK.
Well, you don't have the time to jump freighter or move it via, you know, via like bowhead to the other side of the fucking, you know, other side of HiSec or some like HiSec pocket. Like, you can literally just spawn it into whichever system you're at.
That's another thing I hadn't even thought of. Yeah.
You can't even intercept these.
Right, because it comes straight out of the redeem queue.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to just CCP destroying their own like selling point for their game. Like, I've talked about this a little bit in other channels, but CCP. I'm gonna be Caleb today and go on the rant about CCP destroying the unique selling point of their game, which is that players do everything that matters in this fucking game,
unless it's a mining ship that you just want to easy mode wherever you want to put it. By the way, I don't disagree with like Caleb on the slots and all that stuff. I just think we beat it up for forever, right? But I mean, this is just a money play. It's just, you know, we need some cash. We're getting screwed, and, you know, we want to make some money, and it's the only way to make money on the game. They think
it's not. No, it's not. Look, and this is something that I put in the Evo thread. If CCP were to put Alliance skins in and charge $20 real world money for them, right? They'd make bank. Yeah. Because it's not like
so much bank.
Yeah, $20 is a little expensive, but if you gave me $20 and that Alliance skin would fit over any of my ships, yeah, I'd probably buy that.
Well, I mean for any ships, you'd probably be talking about like $50. But
Right.
hey,
you know,
here's
if
a Capital Alliance skin, and it fits on all of your capitals.
Right.
$20.
$20.
Right.
I'm there.
Like, okay, so let's say they make it $5 for the skin. All right. Which, yeah, it's still expensive when you buy a bunch of them, but you're more likely to buy one now, one later. You know, you do the $4.99
Yeah,
price
I mean,
point.
even if you do
People eat that shit up and don't think about how much it adds up.
$4.99 per ship or $20 for all your subcaps, whatever, you know? I mean, yeah, I get it.
I mean, $20 for a hack skin, or $10 for a hack skin.
$10 for a hack skin. Yeah, sure.
$4.99.
That goes on all of the hacks.
$4.99. All right.
$4.99
like
a hull. $4.99 a hull. They would clean up.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out though that like we're talking about this because like they're like collectively, and we've talked about this prior to the show, and we talked about this like, you know, like last night till like 5 a.m. and stuff like that. Like
way too late.
and like yeah, way too late. Like the reason why we're talking about this is like we can't wrap our heads around quite why CCP has decided to do this. Like we get that there's a time that there is a clearly a timing implement, you know, sort of aspect to this because it's coming like just as you know, they've done changes to industry, they've done changes to mining, right? So the focus for the community is, you know, in that kind of area. But like you know,
Why
like
the fuck do you shoot yourself
Briska said,
in the foot so publicly?
no, it's kind of like it's like Brisk says in chat, right? Like they're not needing money. They're not having an issue with like pulling in money. So why?
You do not do this without having to need money.
Oh no,
Sure,
They're trying to find alternate avenues.
They're
of
definitely
income.
trying to find alternate avenues, but I don't think that in the short term they need money. I think their marketing team is just like, you know,
okay. Let's
spitballing
review
shit and everything gets greenlit.
No. So last quarter revenue numbers for
long
Eve
term
were,
are two
hold
different.
on. Last because businesses run quarter to quarter. Now they used to run long term. Now they've been quarter to quarter for a decade now.
Mm-hmm.
So last quarter Eve revenue was down, right?
Yeah, but it was up the quarter before that. And
well,
like,
hold it. They were down that quarter, so they got the mandate. Make sure your revenue's up next quarter. I'm telling you, this is how it works.
It was,
I
guess
down, maybe,
it wasn't down much at all, really.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, you know, when you're negative and you're forecasting negative numbers, trust me, I'm in the forecasting. I'm in the forecasting conversations, right? Yeah, you're told you got to hit it. You got to hit it. You got a bogey to hit, man. And everybody's got to come in, and that's when they tell everybody brainstorm. How can we make more money? You know,
yeah.
Because if we fix the game, we're not going to get more players by fixing the game in a short period.
Yes,
of time.
you fucking will.
Hold on. In a short quarterly basis, they are not going to be able to fix the game and get more players that way. That's a long term.
No, see, I disagree
By the way,
with you there.
I
strongly disagree with you there.
Okay, go ahead.
I think that because we're talking the change we're talking about here is Q4 to Q1, right? I think that just saying, no, listen, all of these fixes for mining, they're actually going in January, February, March. I think right there, bang, their Q1 numbers were already much higher. Because people came back
what is
just for those changes.
What is their Q1? Are they run annually, or do they run Q1? You know, is in July.
I think they run. I believe they run annually.
Okay, so they're on the 12-month rate. So yeah, I mean,
because the Q4 call came in the middle of February, so maybe they're a month behind.
We're probably looking at Q1 call in like
April.
fourth week April. Yeah.
Well,
Q1's over. It makes sense that
Q1 is over.
It would be
right?
February.
I mean, it's Q1's over essentially at this point.
Q1's not over for another 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, but
Q1 is
in the reality of business, you're not going to.
Q1 is functionally set now. Yes.
Yeah. Right. They've made most of the money they're going to make in Q1.
Right. And if those numbers are lower and those numbers are down, right, they're going to. and by the way, maybe this was a last gasp to get those 3 weeks worth of numbers in. Hey, a bunch of people buy these packs.
How the fuck does this pack get you the last gasp? Brisk has a very good point in here. Why not do a Plex scale, do a skin sale, do something that players want to see?
There's no really, but here's the thing. I'm so really, pissed at CCP. I'm not buying any fucking Plex unless you put them like at a 50 or 75% discount at this point.
But really though, let's also keep in mind here, okay?
Yeah.
Like if CCP is getting pressured from above about your IP went down in value, right?
Your revenue, your quarter-over-quarter revenue went down.
This past quarter, right? EVE Online lost quarter to quarter 400 million won in income. Okay?
That's a big number.
Black Desert, the only real IP that Pluribus can compare them to, lost just under 10 times that.
I understand that, but that means they put pressure on everybody across the company. It's just every division.
CCP's in a position to go, yeah, well, we're outperforming you.
That's not how it works in the C-suite. Okay, the conversation comes.
CCP are owned, not owners.
Right. It comes down from the owner, right? Not CCP. CCP is now effectively a division. It doesn't matter if they got their own little CEO because all those names are funny at that level anyway. You can do whatever you want, right? So here's what happened. CCP, you didn't get hit as well as bad as, the other game, right? They got hit worse. Other game, you're in a lot of trouble. You got to make up that money and you got to do that. And by the way, CCP, we need you to up yours because we need you to fill your gap. Plus, we need you to cover the other division, right? Happens all the time in the boardroom.
Here's the real deal here. We have been yelling, outright screaming as a community for basically forever. I'm gonna say it, basically forever. For CCP to give us shit that we want to buy. We have been telling you what we want to buy. Why the fuck can you not give us the shit that we've asked you for that we will throw money at?
Let's answer Sharar's question here in chat. Why did CCP sell itself? CCP sold itself because it had external investors, be they angel investors,
they got out of the venture capital market.
Right? Venture capital. Those people only want their money, venture capitalists, like 2-3 years, and they went out, right? So they wanted their return on their investment to happen. So those investors pressure the company to then get somebody to buy them out, and that's really what happened. Okay.
Yeah, they are only concerned with their with their dividend payouts as such. And it's if they don't perform how they are expected to perform, basically the capital the venture capitalists basically honestly, pull their money.
They are not holding.
I'm glad they did. I will be totally honest. I'm glad they did because if you look at what was happening before the company got sold, the VCs wanted their money and they were selling off chunks of it.
Yeah, they sold
shuttering
off
studios
Newcastle,
and selling off the small.
That's not how it works. Sure.
They sold off the World of Darkness stuff at one point, right?
They sold off World of Darkness to Paradox. They spun off and sold off, I think, the Nottingham studio that had done
Newcastle.
But Newcastle, that was it. So honestly, if it comes down to a choice between being owned by people who just want their fucking money and will liquidate the company if that's what it takes to get it, and being owned by a bunch of people who want to make video games, I much prefer them in Pluribus's hands.
Yeah.
But bottom line, point about the community team getting axed at one point. That happened in 2017, and we saw a ton of people go at that point that were hugely loved. The community team at one point was CCP Falcon and CCP Guard.
Yeah, it was literally
that was the community team.
Yeah,
and then Guard left.
No, because they got Dopamine. And then Guard left.
Yeah.
So but the community team was struggling for a hell of a while. Like there were 3 major VC partners that they had, and they sold the company to get out from under the VCs.
Right.
And it was a good move.
And the VCs
but
wanted out.
They've never known.
It wasn't the company.
It wasn't
the company wanted to get rid of the VCs. The VCs wanted the return on their investment from the company, right?
Yeah.
And they're entitled to that. That's the deal that they make, and that's
absolutely.
right.
But
right?
just
So
if
now let's
I've
look
got
at CCP, right? When revenue goes down, right? There's only a couple places you can account for that revenue. Remember, that's not profit, that's revenue, right? So when you look at revenue, then you say, how do I account for the revenue, right? Even when you're doing budgeting at a major corporate level, right? You're talking, tens of millions of dollars and everything. And you're going to say, if you want that, where are you going to give me that money back? Okay, you get those kind of conversations, right? And the only place you can achieve some of this money back is personnel, because personnel is your number one largest expense in any company, right? So you're going to gain an efficiency somewhere whenever you when you buy something, invest in something, whatever it is, and all the different rules of capitalization of work versus hardware and all that stuff. So they're in a situation where if they keep a downward trend, right, they're going to go to Hilmar and they're going to say, Hilmar, how are you going to make up the shortfall that we foresee? Well, I'm going to cut X amount of staff and reduce that, and then gain efficiency in the staff by pointing them in these directions, right? Those are the conversations that begin to happen at this corporate level. And
you don't gain efficiency when you downsize the staff.
Well, I'm talking about corporations, and by the way,
I know, but you don't. Like what you wind up doing is you wind up overworking individuals, and then they become less efficient.
In some cases, yes.
You have an issue. You have an issue there when you do that, wherein
you don't
then
always,
end up
yes.
Sometimes you will end up in a situation where, okay, yeah, you had to downsize because of
you overhired
costs to make your your profit margins, and then you get to a point where, like, okay, we're past the bad part, we can start hiring again, but you got rid of all your institutional knowledge. So every single person who comes in after that point, after the layoffs, after everything, they have to learn everything from scratch.
I get that.
You don't gain efficiency in the short or long term by doing that. But you just lose experience.
Yeah, New World Order says, basically what I said years ago. You're in maintenance mode, whether you want to believe that or not, right? This game is in maintenance mode. It is spend as little as we can and wring as much out of it as we can. Okay, 100%. That's what it is. You are not in a growth mode. If you were in a growth mode, man, you'd be getting amazing patches all the time, right?
And Mac, is that A's using your show's Twitch account?
Yeah. Like that's his
really
default
login right
at the moment.
You're there. You're there, okay? And by the way, you're all just cows out there if you're paying for Eve. You're just milk to them. And actions like this prove it, okay? And they are trying to do the low-effort method to get the maximum dollar. And that's what they did. And they don't really care. And you haven't had a response from them because they haven't felt the need to respond because they don't really care. Okay, and I'm going to say that. And Hilmar's going to say, oh, no, we care about it. No, you don't. Bullshit, okay? Hilmar, you want to tell me you care? Come on the fucking show and let's have a conversation, okay?
What Hilmar we won't beat you up too badly.
Oh, no, I don't know. No, we're always polite.
We're generally polite when CCP has come on the show. We may not agree with what you're doing, but we want to hear why you're doing it.
But
we're very pleasant people when we're not,
yelling.
When you haven't given us like something to be really, really angry about.
Yeah, talking to Hilmar as a CEO, it's not a big deal, right? You can talk to him, but he's got to be willing to answer the hard questions, right? And they're in a situation where they've got to generate revenue, and I think they're out of ideas on how to do it. And to them, fixing the things,
I have so many ideas.
I know the ideas of fixing the game, right, to make it work are one thing. Things that we want that are like retrievers that we would really pay for, right? Like the skins and everything like that. These are things that they could do and they could generate goodwill. They don't view you as a customer. You're not a customer.
It's not even about generating goodwill. It would make them money. Hands down, it would make them money. It would make them more money than this.
I guarantee you there are a lot of people who do not play this game and have quit this game because they're sick of the bullshit from CCP. And when they do stupid things and talk down to their customers, They're sick of it, so they don't play. Now
that's why I dropped 66% of my accounts. Like
that is why
there's a reason for
generating goodwill is a marketing technique. You know, if you're a company, if you're a company that says we made a mistake and we're going to fix it and we're sorry, and they don't talk down to you all the time, then you have a company that the players are more engaged with. They like you. If I don't like you, I'm not going to buy your product. Okay.
I need to interject here for a second. Shirar in Twitch chat is saying, why does INN and other sites give CCP employees softball interviews? And I don't know about the other sites. I'm not a staffer at any of the other sites. I don't, have any input in the back room. But we have never given a softball interview in our fucking life on INN.
I want to tell. Hang on. I want to say something here in terms of softball interviews. Right? There's a difference between a softball interview not actually asking hard questions and phrasing those hard questions in a way that doesn't sound aggressive. Like there's two different things.
Yeah, I mean, we've always asked questions, even people we like, but we only have people we like on the show, right? I mean, we have the art team, right? Hey, what you doing? Cool. You've done some really nice things. These ships look amazing, right? That's an easy.
The art team, but the art team and the sound design team, who've also been on various INN shows, right? They're doing good work.
Yeah, you can't shit on these guys for the marketing changes we're seeing or the game design changes.
That'd be like calling in your first baseman and being like, "Why the hell did the front office do blah?" It doesn't work.
But I mean,
he doesn't fucking know. It's not his job.
To my memory, the last interview that happened with a CCPer that I did or was involved in seriously, other than the sound design and the art teams on this show, and maybe we had a CCPer on for one of the tournament things at one point, I think, Aurora came on for a tournament thing. But anyway, or one of them. Anyway, the point is that the last serious interview that I was involved in that we did that wasn't on this show was the CCP master plan interview that we did, Horrendous, back in the beginning of 2020, I want to say, maybe 2019?
2019 or 2020, yeah.
And that wasn't...
it wasn't softballed at all.
It wasn't softballed at all. It was like an hour and a half or so of a conversation that Horrendous and I had with Masterplan basically solo. Masterplan didn't have a community team guy looking over his shoulder and saying, hey, you can't say anything like this. And we asked serious questions about what Team Talos were doing at the time. And so it would have been early 2020 because it was after Team Talos was announced. And, it was a very civil conversation. He was asking us what we thought about certain things while we were asking him what they're going to do about these certain things.
Right, and we were asking him about, there's been this misstep in the past. How are you guys going to fix it now?
Yeah,
we just didn't do it in a combative way because
right now we can be as competitive.
If you want to get an answer out of somebody, you can't make them feel defensive because if you make them feel defensive, they're just going to dig in.
Can I address something in chat quick, Shirar?
Please.
God damn it! I mean, his point is fair. I'm not going to criticize the point. You need to teach CCP there are no safe havens to interact with people if the company as a whole doesn't take the players' needs into account. That's great, but a certain other channel will gladly act as a safe haven any day.
It's lovely to say
interviews and they just fuck off to there.
It's lovely to say that you need to teach CCP there are no safe havens, but unfortunately, I am not, and I use the word unfortunately here kind of sarcastically, I am not the master of all space, time, and dimension able to influence reality to my whims. Be thankful for that.
Sadly, there are certain people that will
let's put
parrot the narrative on other channels.
If they want a softball situation where they can go into an interview knowing the questions that will be asked and knowing that they have basic answers,
demonstrated that they know exactly where to go.
They know where to go. They go on, and you know what? Fuck it. I'm just going to call them out. They go on Talking in Stations because they know that Talking in Stations will indulge their whims. And,
again, if we're gonna go ahead and be blunt about this, all right? Matterall has said it is his mission to make it a safe space for CCP.
Okay.
Yeah,
So number one,
we're not about that.
We will
we're
never
about
be a
hearing
safe
the real
space
talk.
because Eric doesn't believe in safe spaces. So if any of you out there in the audience think safe spaces in any capacity in society are good, get over it. But yeah, I mean, it's a difference between an interview that is an honest interaction between the interviewee and the team, right? If Hilmar came on here, I wouldn't talk about him as the number one person in CCP I would fire. Okay, I wouldn't say that to him, but I'm sure he knows from the show or somebody's told him that we don't like him, right? But that's different to interview.
If we invited him and he said he was going to do it, somebody at CCP would tell him what we've said about him before.
Absolutely.
He'd be prepped.
But again, safe spaces are not okay. Trauma, no, that's not the same. Safe spaces aren't the same, Ariana, in healthcare and trauma. Okay, I'm talking about the common definition today. So, I mean, we would hit him with hard-hitting questions, okay? But again, we wouldn't be disrespectful to him on the show, right? I mean, that's different, right? You can ask a hard question in a civil way and challenge it and then move on. You don't harp on it for 8 years, right? I mean, it would be very clear, you know, if Hilmar's here, it's like, Hilmar, why did you think selling ships and all the stuff with them for cash is a good idea? I mean, that's a legitimate question, right?
Where did the idea come from?
Well, he may not say that, but first you got to say
he may not say it, but we can ask it. And if he
doesn't
say it, then you have to acknowledge that he's not going to say it.
It doesn't really
into it.
It really doesn't matter.
What was the thinking behind?
And the thing is, we actually need that. Like, honest to God, like hand on heart, we actually need that because we could try and figure out from the fucking tea leaves as to what CCP's intention was when they put this pack out. But like at the end of the day, it's just fucking conjecture. We won't know until CCP actually tells us. And if their kind of reasoning behind it is flawed in some way, shape, or form, it's better to hear what their reasoning and then go, okay, well, this reasoning is flawed for this particular reason. Have you considered this? Have you considered this effect, this second order effect, third order effect, fourth order effect?
I'm going to tell you, almost every company I work with is forecasting reduced revenues through fourth quarter, right? And so they're going to take whatever stance they think is necessary to, make that as even as they can without a loss, right? They want that line to be 0 or above, right? Or, if they're projecting minus 25% in revenues by the end of the year, right? They want to make up that gap and lessen that as much as they can, right? I mean, that's what everybody is doing right now, right? And so I don't fault them for trying, but I do question if you can sell retrievers, what else can you sell me, right? What else are you going to do? And then when it becomes, hey, I just buy ships and nobody builds them anymore because all the people that they just screwed a bunch of their customers who build retrievers.
So,
right.
I've got
they've done that, and they have to understand that if we're smart enough to say, well, if you screwed the builders and people who build retrievers because they're speculating that with these changes there's more of a need for them, you're just selling them for cash. What ship are you going to do that next? So why should I build?
Not even what ship. If you're willing to screw these players, who won't you screw?
That was the next step, horrendous, right? So if you're willing to screw,
fair point.
Right? You've screwed over miners and you didn't care, and you made a bunch of people leave the game. Okay, not necessarily because of what you did to mining, but things that you did with Blackout, because Hilmar thought that was a brilliant fucking idea. Okay. So we watched a whole bunch of people leave the game because their gameplay was destroyed. So now, are you willing to just destroy production? And okay, so a bunch of other people will say, I've had it, I'm leaving. So what's the next thing that you're going to... Because you keep losing revenue because of these things.
And we've seen it happen in more than just, mining and industry. Yeah. A lot of the solo hunters have felt the same way. A lot of the guys who did small gang roams into Null felt like the changes CCP made did the same thing to them. Mm-hmm. We've seen a whole lot of things where CCP has just kind of gone with their gut and pissed people off. And
But
they need to not be going with their gut. They need to be working with their customers. And that's just it. Like I am done. I am done referring to the people who pay for this game as players, because CCP has demonstrated that they think players are just people out in the park playing a game. We are your customers.
Yeah, that was one of the points I was going to say. I was going to make, because Goonie DuPont did point that out in Twitch chat. You know, he asked CCP, why should we, the customers, give you money? And CCP haven't thought about us as customers in a long time. They've thought about us as players of their game, but they haven't thought about us as purchasers of their product.
They don't know what the value of a customer is. They don't know the cost and value.
I also
want
to backtrack
two accurate
a little
terms
bit
for what we are. Okay, avoiding the P word. We are customers and we are licensees.
Yes. But I also want to backtrack just a little bit to the points that were made about us needing real, quote-unquote, journalism in the EVE space, and CCP needing to be willing to engage with that. I want to say this. CCP need to be willing to engage ahead of time with what players consider to be real journalists. You know, if you want to have a serious conversation, we can make that happen at INN. Yeah, sure, we're the Imperium News Network, but we're here to talk about the game. We're not here to talk about what's going on in the Imperium. You can see that from our fucking web shows. We talk about all sorts on Twitch here, and you can also see that with the articles that we put out. We don't just talk about what the fuck is happening in the Imperium. We talk about what's happening in the game.
Yeah, so to go along with horrendous things, right? We are we are customers who talk about the game who happen to be in the Imperium. But if somebody comes and wants to be on the show and they want to be a regular on the show and they're not in the Imperium, we don't care.
To get to my point there, right? CCP are willing to engage with people like TIS. They're willing to engage with Carneros as a player host for talks on their own channel about topics. Like, if you want to have people come on and ask you real questions about a topic, give us 24 hours notice for a weekend stream, and we can find people to come and talk about whatever topic you want to talk about. Even if it's ahead of the launch, if you give us some basic info and say, this is what we talk about, we can facilitate that. You have to engage with us ahead of your releases, instead of us now being stuck in this consistent cycle of you releasing something that is a dumbass idea.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with NDAs and all that stuff.
Not talking about why you've done this, what your motivation was. So we're here now, 3 days after you've made a dumb idea, yelling about it on Twitch.
I would just like
because
to take
you've
a
not
moment.
engaged.
Came out of the water.
I would just like to take a moment here and just kind of not walk anything back, but just clarify something, because given the whole question theme about softball questions and Dirk just referencing that CCP have involved Carneros on their channel. I would like to point out that while Carneros is unfailingly polite and soft-spoken, and he is a very pleasant person, if you've checked out some of the recent streams, he is not shying away from the, well, okay, but what the hell questions. He's just not phrasing them the way I would. Because
but
he's not an asshole.
It's a good interviewer, right? And Carneros is awesome, right?
Like
he does hit
them. He does give them the quality follow-ups. He just does it in a very pleasant way that maybe people miss sometimes.
Yeah, Carneros is a very, very competent and very good.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that nobody thinks that Dirk was throwing shade at Carneros there, because he
absolutely
not.
No. But my point is that CCP have their very short list of people that they will reach out to ahead of time, and
we're not on that.
There's not.
Speak for yourself, okay? Some of us have had our own CCP special.
There's not a lot
of
them,
I don't care.
Yes, but Dawn, that's not the kind of special
going on. Is my point. There's not a lot of
Carneros
stuff
is
where
not Canadian, Shirar.
you know, CCP talk about a topic and we just riff on that topic. Like we don't get that. We're constantly reacting.
Sorry for the yawn, guys. It is just you know, I'm just at this point I'm kind of just, you know, I mean, let's put it this way. No one on this show wants to rip CCP a new one, right? We would really, really love to celebrate the good. It's
difficult to find the good.
It's been years since I've really seen much good, and it really comes down to I really see this game in maintenance mode, and you know they're gonna until that profit line falls below where they feel it's a good return on investment, you're going to see the game around. I really think that you know, I know Hilmar says Eve forever and all this stuff, but he doesn't mean Eve Online forever when he says that. He means the Eve IP in some capacity, right? Remember, we had an Eve you know, we had a weekly Eve show, you know, almost ready to launch, right? Yeah, no. Bullshit. It was never even close, guys. You know, it would be cool to do a lot of things with Eve, but the Eve IP, you know, isn't going to live forever. Eve game, not going to live forever, guys. And I'm 100% positive after last quarterly there was some hard things, really. And remember too, you could drop in quarterly numbers, but it's what's the return on the investment, right? So revenue was down 400,000, but what part of that was profit? And where was your profit line, right? So you know, what is it, Black Sands Online, whatever the hell, Black Desert Online, okay? You know, that may be down 10 times, but was their profit still really high, right? Sometimes down that low, always bad, but you look at the profit for the revenue, right? So if Eve is expensive to produce, but Black Desert Online is cheap to produce, right? Mm-hmm. You make different business decisions based on. And by the way, I don't know what those numbers are, right? I'm just saying these are the decisions and what they base those decisions on in the C-suite, right? That's what they do. Right? We haven't seen new hardware for how many years?
It's worth noting also, one of the weirdities of the last 2 quarters, I think. I think this applies to last quarter as well. Okay. Is that all the numbers were down, but profits were up.
Well, what's it tell you?
It tells you that they're not paying out quite as much money, and it tells you that they probably laid some people off, or some people left.
Even payroll was up. The PA and all of its subsidiaries cleared something major off of their books that just is really not PA. Easy to spot.
Sorry,
yeah. The I mean, let's. I mean, when's the last time they refreshed hardware?
3 years ago, 4 years ago now.
I think it's closer to.
Well, they've been trying to do this implementation into sort of like cloud services for various different things, and that's been rocky at best.
Yeah, well, because hybrid cloud and full transferal into cloud, guys. I mean, not as easy as everybody says. Not everything works the same. Like I'll give you an example, right? So if you're in AWS CC, right? So you're paying now what you don't pay for in a different way. You're paying for ingestion and ingress and egress of data, right? You're also, you know, your I/O in EC2 is tied to number of processors, amount of memory in your EC2 size and shape, right? So if you want a higher rate of I/O, you have to go to a bigger EC2.
Yeah. It's one of those bits where you're transitioning physical hardware costs into
and by the way, not all
license payment.
Not all clouds work that way.
Payment.
AWS
and at the same time, the fact that they're transitioning chunks of what's happening with the game out of the actual Eve cluster and into a secondary cluster that then communicates may mean that they don't feel they need to update the hardware quite so rigorously
they'll get
because
it by
it's
default.
because
Well-
they're getting more performance out of what they already have.
We've not seen a major
Well-
hardware refresh in
I don't know what pieces of the
5
game,
years, 6
right,
years now.
Right. I
Like,
don't think
the
we
last
know.
one was Tranquility Tech 3 in 20. I think it was 2016
yeah, 2016
when they replaced the entire monolith.
and
And
that's
this
Wonder
is,
what-
this,
by the
this
way,
is CCP's
guys,
internal
too long.
topic.
I wonder
by the
what
way.
they could
It's
do
the
with.
monolith.
I wonder what they could do with some Epic server tech, like some AMD Epics.
Well,
Which would be pretty good.
let's look at it this way, right? I'm looking
mean,
at
let's
it from a
keep in mind that,
conceptual way, right? So we don't really know what's on-prem and what's in the cloud for these guys, right? I mean, we know there was some messaging service, right? That
We
comes to
know
your client out of
some.
AWS, right? We don't.
We know
necessarily
some of what's on the
right?
cloud.
We
Like
know that
we know that the
transition-
chat. We know that the chat services are on the cloud for sure.
Mhm.
and that kind
We
of makes sense.
know we know that some of the market stuff is now on the cloud.
Yep.
That's been said. That there's a couple of things that we know for sure that CCP has put onto a cloud remote service rather than having it integrated with
Yeah,
the
when you,
monolith.
I think
But
the
we don't know
distinction.
the whole of
when you
what
say
the fuck they're doing.
when you say market,
Yeah.
right? Are you talking about all the market stuff in the database and everything is over in the cloud?
Yeah. When I say the market situation, I mean like market orders and some of the people buying, selling stuff on the in-game market. That's on a cloud service, at least partly.
And that makes sense. And by the way, if you're using AWS, you're paying way too fucking much for it. But that's beside the point. Moving pieces hybrid cloud, excellent for companies to do. Very good, right? Also, offloading the market from probably their primary database server, because that's where it is. Probably very smart, because that's probably very isolated in the part of the code that it is, right? So that's great. That's kind of smart stuff. But at the same time, it can cause you other problems, right? So when you're looking at depending on how they have that communication set up, right, in the data centers that they use, right, there are certain places, that you can have high-speed connections and can't, and redundancy and things like that. So, it can get interesting, it can get complicated. But some of those things are good. Putting databases in the cloud isn't always the smartest thing, I'll tell you guys. That might be my area of expertise, right? But it's a cautious move. People who think you can just lift and shift to the cloud, I just asked them to stand over here. By the way, so raise my hand right here. I asked him to stand right here beside me, and I have a little lever on the side of my desk that sends them down into the dungeon, right? Just right through the trapdoor. Again, you haven't really seen a hardware refresh on them. That's a very expensive thing. There are certain things that are just not going to get the performance that you want out of them in the cloud area. Whether they're
because
I can't make that assessment, not seeing certain things. But
we've heard a lot of interesting things about like the requirements, like the specialized requirements for the Tranquility server cluster.
Yeah. So,
like obviously, there's certain things that they felt like they could, sort of pull out and put into the cloud because like the requirements, were kind of met with the the capabilities of certain AWS services. But like I'm fairly certain that there's a lot of high data, high bandwidth input output kind of or like data throughput kind of issues
huge
that
data
that they
issues.
can't that they just can't replicate by putting certain
remember,
bits of it onto
it's
the
a
cloud.
There's a difference, folks, between what you call public cloud, where you can get a lot of that, and private cloud that's not in your data center but is still in the cloud and isolated to you, right? There's very different design issues and things you can do. I mean, you can't get it at AWS. You can't get it at AWS, but you might be able to get it elsewhere. You can get bare metal provisioning in the cloud, right? You own the whole box, right? You can do those things. Okay.
Like I say,
but cloud isn't necessarily cheaper than on-prem.
When it comes to the cloud, you're talking about transitioning from your own internal hardware and DevOps costs to external vendor licensing fees or payment fees or whatever you want to call them, right? You're just transitioning where your money is going, and sure, there are some benefits, but there are some trade-offs.
Many
and
permutations of that, right?
like,
Sometimes it's bring your own license, right? Sometimes
actually
it's
having
buy. Sometimes it's pay more per minute for CPU and not bring your own license, right? There's so many permutations.
Yeah, and having, as Araya says in Twitch chat, like a lot of companies' internal data centers are absolute security nightmares. It's funny. I just started working at a PaaS company, so this has been something that I've spent a lot of time looking at in the last month and a half. It's definitely a very tricky thing to get the balance right, I would say, especially for something like Eve, because you can't put the way the game works onto the cloud. You just can't do it because it all has to interact in split seconds. And
so we know the best cloud. Okay, we're just
that all needs to go to that all needs to go to a single server. However that's architected, it all has to go to that single server to be interacted with in a split second and return in. I think.
Yeah, you can.
I think the actual cycle time on what CCP is doing. If you click a gun and fire on another ship in Eve, I think CCP's server time for processing that is sub half a second after the command gets to the server. And then so the server works in ticks of 1 second, and it gets there, it processes in half a second, it sends the result back to you in the later half of the second. But the
calculations are done way faster than like that sort of like half second or whatever. Like it stacks all that kind of data up to that next second to push it out.
Usually done faster than that.
Yeah, and we get why they do
by
that.
The way,
right?
This is why tie-dye exists, right?
Well, the tick rate is 500 milliseconds. It's not 1 second.
Yeah, so look at the architecture, right? They are a game server based architecture, and that protects them in a number of ways, right? But with the good, you got to take the bad, right? So all those little games that everybody hacks everything and has their auto everything, right? A lot of them, the client side does a lot of those calculations, right? And is sending it to the server. Therefore, they can be intercepted, hacked, and all that good stuff, right? So doing it on the server side certainly invokes us more into the tie-dye because you're just doing more processing over there and harder. So there's good and bad with that, right? Right? And but when we talk, all the problems are, most, I think, of the problems that you might foresee with CCP are all doable in cloud. Remember, all clouds are not the same, right? There are companies that do regional cloud deployments right in your own data center. It's their cloud, and they just move a piece of it right into your data center, right?
You
don't own it anymore, right? It's
the other thing about that is just that Eve has been doing for nearly 20 years something that nobody else is doing in the sense of it's a single shard environment. Sure, it's
multi-sharded,
sectioned
out. Single sharded, but okay.
It's sectioned out into
which you have
specific systems on specific nodes and server blades.
Yep.
But it's single sharded in the fact that every player connecting to the server can interact with any other player.
Absolutely.
Which is not a thing that basically any other game has done in a manner that has been successful. And so they are constantly on that bleeding edge of game tech in that sense.
Yeah,
in that particular environment. They need to continue to figure out a very custom solution.
Yeah, what was the other game Goons played where you built your castles and all that, and you could own land? I forget what that was called. We played that for a while.
You're on about New World.
The thing is,
not New World, something else.
You're talking about Just Survive.
Is it not Just Survive? Not Just Survive. It was no. You actually built mines into the ground, and you mined them. And there was a goon. What?
Oh, okay, actual castles. Like, oh, that was a little while back. Yeah.
Yeah, and you terraform
Yeah, I
land,
don't
build
remember.
your castles, build your moats and everything, and everybody fought over. Anyway, right? So the same, because you're doing it in space with gates, it enables you to do things a little easier than this, right? But hey, you're in a tile, and this tile is defined on this server process, right? Server doesn't necessarily need to be a physical piece of hardware. It's a piece of software, right? So this server controls tile 1, this server controls tile 2, and if you walk over that wide border of that, you have a little game glitchiness as you go from one server to the other, right? The nice thing about Eve, because it's in space, stargates, right? So you kind of have that central point to move between those. And by the way, the limitations that we have in some of our computational processing makes that required, right? The sad thing to me about Eve is, yes, Sturk, they have a brilliant thing that nobody else has made successful in gaming, right? And it truly was brilliant technology, and they needed the investment that would be amazing would be investing in that in the next level of that, right? So how can we achieve into the next level of that? That we get rid of tie-dye and
the issue there, Eric, and this comes back to the sheer bullshittery that they've decided this week, is that realistically necessity drives innovation. And so if we want to see an innovation in the way they're doing server tech, if we want to see them pushing, tech further so that we could have 10k people in a system without worrying about it in tie-dye, and 4k people in a system without tie-dye at all, then we have to have the players to be able to support that. We have to have the players where these events, these huge events, are actually interesting to 4K people at a single point. Because if CCP don't have to do a server technology refresh, which with dropping player rates, they don't, and I don't give a shit what CCP says about the daily active users and the monthly active users. The concurrent user count matters in an MMO that is single sharded. If we don't have the
and relies on others for
CCP
content,
don't have the reason to innovate and do this and make changes and really grasp at the very bleeding edge of what current technology can do, they won't. Yeah, and they don't have that because they're screwing us and they're pissing their players down the drain.
So there's one issue with what you say. Sorry, Eric.
Go ahead. No, you go. You go, Bart.
You say that players need to push it to get them to develop it further. But we saw that during the last war. We saw numbers pushed to the highest they've ever been. And CCP basically noted it in a dev blog and then went, shrug. Yeah. Right.
It feels not happening regularly. But
no, but even if it was, CCP's current mindset seems to be hating null and veterans. So why would they do something that further helps them?
If it was happening regularly, they wouldn't really have a choice but to do it.
Yeah, well, let's look at it.
They'd have to do it.
Yeah,
otherwise
they'd
be
that from a different perspective.
Different perspective.
Will reduce the server hardware lifetime.
Hold on.
Their perspective on the sort of the requirement to sort of develop these systems is not based on how many times us as players hit the fucking top end of it. It's whether a competitor is able to provide that kind of experience without like the low fucking ceilings that we keep on smacking our heads on.
No,
and right now, that's not really possible.
Yeah, I mean,
honestly, like CCP's mind. Sorry, CCP's minds. Sorry, Arendis. You go.
The thing that matters is not how often players push it, and it's not can a competitor match it. What's going to drive it is how often does the media talk about us doing it?
Well, every time it happens.
That's a fair
right?
point.
No,
If we do it more often, then there's more press about it, and that's what will drive CCP's response, because that's what will
yeah, but
get
it's
attention.
this is not a
pay them.
CCP thing. I don't think they're big enough to solve this problem.
I'm not saying that they're going to be the ones to solve the problem,
Yeah.
but they're going to be the ones. They're going to have to be, if you will, the tip of the spear in looking for a solution.
I think they
nobody
have.
else has to.
I think they have. Remember that test we did with like the millions of people firing missiles, right? But we really couldn't get that high with that technology, right? So I mean,
yeah, but keep
again,
in mind that's a totally different issue coming into play. That's cool new cutting edge technology. Of course, Hilmar's going to be involved with that. Hilmar wants to be involved in every cutting edge tech, always. That's what he cares about, not Eve.
Well,
it's a very vicious circle,
hold on, right? The value.
If we had more players, there would be more resources to pay for people to look into the solutions to these problems.
Sure. Well, yes, too, but I mean, it's a technology.
It's a really vicious circle.
It's a combination of a technology challenge and a coding challenge, right? Into having. By the way, I don't want to. I'm not trying to talk badly about the quality of developers at CCP when I say this, right? But it's a different level of developer to develop base infrastructure engine code that could run parallel and still keep consistency of the data, right? We know we can do this. This is a technological thing that is done, but at the expense of building it is big. It's so big that not many companies do it, right? I think there's one.
Right. It's expensive as well.
Right. It's
although
expensive.
That's coming down.
But the question is, right, when you look at where people, I mean, this is like forward thinking gaming, right? This is the meta, right? This is Ready Player One, where it is transparent because computing power almost has to be infinite in order to fund worlds like this. And to do what we want in Eve, you kind of need the elasticity of the compute power and the code in conjunction with it to go not just horizontally but vertically as much as it can. And when it reaches its vertical limits, it has to be able to go horizontal. And that's hard code to write, but it's been written for consistency. So it could be done. It's who's willing to put the money into Eve. And if Eve was the first game to be able to do that, right? Imagine if you could play like Battlefield, right? Where we play like 30 on 30. Imagine if you could play 4,000 against 4,000. Would you flock to that game?
But if you do the math on that, Battlefield, if I remember correctly, has a tick rate of 60 hertz. Right? So if you take 64 players and bulk that down to 1 hertz, then you could support about 2,000 players.
More than
right.
More than because it's an exponential. It's an exponential increase. It's not a.
Why is it an exponential increase?
That's a very good point. That was just an assumption.
Can I make a slight note here that we have seen something do this at a 60 hertz tick rate with over 10,000 people?
Yeah, but how much data was it actually?
McLeod has seen it. I know he was there for it. I don't know if Dirk and Soft were in it. But at the end of the New World pre-alpha, they literally had 10k people on a fucking 60 hertz tick rate.
Yeah, I didn't do shit.
Yes, but not all of those players are on the same node.
Right? Yes, they were.
I doubt that.
No. The server tech on that is basically it runs, the same simulation, but it meshes a whole bunch of servers together. So, and they basically
they do some weird stuff. But yes,
you have phasing, which basically means not all of them
you trade off.
Now,
not all of them on the same node. They when you get to certain areas, go through to certain, from one area of a map to another, seamlessly, it'll basically do a handoff of that person from one server to another.
But what we had was 10,000 people in a certain area on a single node of that server during that test.
You have to, we have to confirm that, right? But that is really what you're talking about to be the technology that you want, right? And by the way, what was I going to say? When you look at AWS's EC2, right? Their second biggest EC2 server is 32 processors. Well, hey, that's not hard. You can kind of figure that out. Their largest is what, 90, 96? Right? You've got to be meshing at that point, right? And so that mesh technology, the best place for that meshing technology to live is underneath the operating system, right? That's where that technology really needs developed and to happen. And games like Eve just need to live on that. But Eve also has a coding issue of how they serially process everything, but can't keep multiple serial columns of parallel processing in sync, which you can do with code, and you would also need to do in this case, right? That makes sense to everyone. But yeah, there's a meshing of compute resources that has to happen underneath the operating system. The operating system just understands the resources that it has, passes that up onto the game, but at the same time, the game needs to be able to not operate serially, but operate serial parallel in sequence.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna step in real quick and say, hey, this server chat has been really interesting. We've all enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
But Goonie DuPont has a very good point in Twitch chat, which is that technology is not CCP's major problem. Getting people in the game and subscribing to the game is their major problem. And stupid shit like they did earlier this week with selling real ships for real money, or selling virtual ships for real money, is not the way to do it.
Can I ask here, because I got in here like an hour after the show started. I looked at
By the way,
people
you're not even supposed
signed...
to be here, so why are you here?
I said I may come in later depending on how fast I can eat my burger. It was a very good burger, so I ate it very fast. Okay. I looked at the people who signed the open letter from the CSM. Can I just ask that there were other people that also expressed that they are absolutely against selling ships for real money? Why didn't they sign that open letter?
I think they wanted to show. Well, I think the signatures are merely, to show that in terms of CSMs, like to show just the breadth of the CSM, sort of like the types of representations.
Yes, I'm specifically asking about current CSMs that didn't sign it.
Oh, didn't.
Right.
Who
so
didn't?
on that front, there is a single CSM who has a single current CSM who has not signed it. He has said in the CSM Discord that he is against selling ships. I'm not sure why he hasn't signed on to the letter. It's you know what? I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's Villy. Of course, it's fucking Villy.
Yeah, it's Villy.
I have a question. Does Villy even play the game anymore? I thought
I'm going to defend him here.
He has an issue with the way that the CSM are approaching this, and I'm not entirely certain quite what it is, but chances are it has something to do with he's not the one who's leading it from the front, and the limelight isn't on him. So
yeah, Brisk wrote the letter. Brisk shopped the letter around. Brisk has been the one really kind of like at the very forefront of the charge against selling ships on the topic of the letter itself. And yeah, but Villy has said in other places this week that he is against selling ships. And that it's a stupid. Well, he didn't say it was a stupid idea, but hey, CCP, it's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
And so yeah, but the letter, I do want to say, we talked about this a little bit on Takes Thursday, and yeah, it's up to 29 direct signatories on the Reddit version of the thread. Brisk has been adding names as they've come in. I don't know what it's at on the forums version.
What do you mean? We can add our names to the letter?
I saw 20.
Specifically CSM.
Okay.
I saw 28.
29 current or former CSM members have signed on to the letter. These are names including, obviously, Brisk, Innominate, Merkelchen. Gobbins is there, Suetonia's there, Kenneth Feld's there, Steve Renukin, the most tenured CSM member in history, is on there. Jintan, a good friend of ours, is on there. Sword Dragon's on there. Other names are people like Bobmon, who is very well known. Mangala Solaris, I don't know if many of you guys know, but he was he was like the origin person for Red versus Blue. He's on there. Jester Trek, otherwise known as Ripard Teg. Celine, who was CCP Abathur for a period, is on there. Like, the Mitani is on there as the CSM6 chairman, because obviously he had to include chairman. But, you know, there's a hell of a lot of names signed on to this.
29 on the forums now.
I wanted to like, you know, when I did the sort of count up when it was 28, like, I want people to know that this isn't just like, you know, null block, you know, null sovereignty CSMs like signing onto this. Like, I mean, 13 of the 28 when I looked at it prior. I don't know. I can't remember who the latest one that's been added to it is. But 13.
I think it's Bobmon.
If it's okay, but like 13 of them, right, are not nullsec, not sov. You know, not sov, nullsec, not nullsec people. Like, they're high sec industrialists, they're high sec, they're streamers, they are small gang, low sec kind of players, they're wormhole players, that kind of stuff. Like,
you've got Exuki on there, right?
Yeah. Okay. Some people have crossed a few things. Some people have crossed a few kind of areas, but like, you know, that's the life of, you know, somebody who plays EVE Online for a long period of time. You play in various different areas, but like their specialities, you know, are so wide ranging that you cannot kind of look at this and say, oh, it's just null sovereignty kind of blocks basically trying to do something. Like, it has been signed by a vast swathe of, you know, the player or vast swathe of representatives of the player base.
Literally CSMs from every part of the game. You've got wormholes. You've got Steve Renukin for industry. You've got Mangala Solaris again, Red versus Blue, which operates mainly in lowsec, as far as I'm aware.
I look at it very simply this way, right? You did something that directly impacts something that your customer does in a game, and if you do it to 30 or you do it to 1,000 of them because they make or don't make this particular product, and now you're offering it for purchase, right? It's
you're eroding a playstyle.
Yeah, you're eroding a playstyle so you can make money. So which other playstyle are you going to erode so you can make money? By the way, I still believe the entire Rorqual thing was income based for them as well. So
let's be real here. Like, no one is mad about this because of the impact this one pack will have on the economy. Right.
Well, I mean, we're a little bit mad about the impact it's going to have on the economy.
It's indicative.
You may be mad. I don't give a shit about that. It's more
indicative,
that they are yet again crossing another line they kept telling us they will never cross, right? And that will lead to very bad behavior from CCP if they don't stop this bullshit.
Well,
like,
I want to say something really quickly, because like a lot of people talk about this line that people cross, like or that CCP keeps on crossing kind of, and a lot of the times when people are like ask that question of like, well, what is this line that you're speaking of? Like, where is this line? Right, a lot of people are a little bit kind of it's a little difficult to be able to sort of describe quite where this line is. You know, we all like the longer that we play this game, we kind of develop this sort of sixth sense as to whether when we kind of feel like some sort of line has been crossed as such. But like, I want to kind of give you a good representation, a good idea as to what this line is. Basically,
conscience.
basically, there are things that CCP makes, or that CCP kind of like creates into the game, right? That we pay money for, right? But those things we can't create in the game using game processes. Like we're talking about things like Plex, right? We're talking about things like like skins, that kind of thing, right? Like there's no method or there's no way of us actually generating those things in game in some way, shape, or form. We have to give money to CCP to do that, right? Mm-hmm. But on the other flip side of that coin, there are lots of things that we create in game by doing work, right? By doing things, by doing stuff, right? That CCP doesn't generate or create, right? And so, in that sense, when those products have associated sort of like work that we as players have done. When CCP crosses over that line of things that we generate, we create, and do work with, like basically that cheapens the work that we do for things, and that's the line. That's the line that they keep on crossing.
I wouldn't call it a line. I would say that there is a clear border between stuff that is created and stuff.
Border is a line.
Well, hold on. Sorry, because I'm going to phrase it slightly differently. But yes, as Max says, you've got stuff that they make into thin air and stuff that comes from player effort. And they are blurring that border between it slowly and surely. And I got shit years ago off of people who have now signed that fucking letter when I said selling skill injectors was going to end up leading to so much worse.
Well, but again, as it's already been mentioned that it's not an economic effect, right? But it's antisocial. Yeah. It's basically saying you don't need to deal with other players. No, the economic effect is going to be minor, if not even microscopic. But the fact that you are not dealing with another player is counter to the fucking USP of EVE Online.
Right. I'm going to finish what I was saying. So, I warned that it would lead to selling of ships, selling of whatever else you can think on. And people were then like, no, they'll never do that. You're just engaging in the slippery slope fallacy. Well, the slippery slope turns out to be a fucking slippery slope.
Yeah.
It's not a fallacy.
We had a huge thing when they introduced skill trading, or skill point trading. I should be more specific. When they introduced skill point trading, yes, you can rip out skill points that you have trained on your character, and you can sell them to another player. And I haven't yet been able to find the post, but there was a very, very historic post from CCP Falcon at the time, in 2016 when they introduced this, saying that the only skill points that would ever be allowed to be traded in EVE Online would be skills that were trained by a character by exchanging game time for skill points.
But Dirk, that's actually the opposite. Right? When it comes to the way that CCP designed skill point injectors, instead of selling skill point directly, I know that they have done so with those weird offers that they give you to boost your least skill point owning character. But aside from that, the fact that the way they introduce skill point training is actually a social and very EVE way of doing it, because I will pay CCP a little bit of money, and then I am exchanging and interacting with other players or other alts of mine. So it's actually sociable. It's actually the opposite of what we have right now.
Welcome to the argument that was made at the time. And I was against it at the time because I felt that it would lead to CCP selling skill points directly, which they have done since. And I felt that it would open the door to selling other things that previously were, sacrosanct.
Required effort from players to create.
Player work, individual player effort. And I thought it would open the door. And I was against it at the time, and I'm still against it now, realistically. But we were told that this was not going to happen, right? The reason I bring up CCP Falcon's post, and Araya makes a good point in Twitch chat, that the post is meaningless because what an ex-community manager who no longer works for CCP said 6 years ago is no longer relevant today, and that's fair. But the reason I bring up the post is that we were told by CCP, by a representative of CCP, that this would not happen. This would not come to pass. CCP knew the issues, they knew the concerns, and they would not let it happen. And here we are today. When, like, as I said,
I want to argue one.
We are no longer at the thin end of the wedge. We're on the fucking cliff precipice, and they're driving the monetization train at us.
But again, I
want to be clear. Just one thing, right? There is no difference between somebody who works for CCP making a post and saying something. That's not an individual post. I don't care how you do it. They work for CCP. They represent the company. That is the company's position, right? And it is relevant.
That's what I wanted to get to.
It doesn't matter. It is relevant in the fact that that is the status of the company. And if it wasn't the stance of the company needed to correct that statement at the time. They did not. Now, if they have changed their opinion, right, then that's okay. They're a company. They can change their opinion. If they want to sell every freaking ship, fine, just say it. Okay?
People are allowed to change opinions. Yeah. Companies are allowed to change opinions. It's fine. You can be a shitty person earlier on.
Hold on.
Get better, or you can be a good person and get worse.
But that's not an opinion. That's a business stance. Right? You can change how you want to do business. It's not your opinion, right? They stated, we won't do that to you guys, and they have. And so as customers, we have to understand that, number one, they can change that. Their CCP is fully right to make money any way that they want to make money. We just don't have to pay them for it or play their game.
Right. The main thing is that if you're doing something as fundamental as changing your entire ideology and your entire USP of your game, even if you're doing it with this boiling the frog method that they've been doing over the past 8+ years,
right?
You have to state this, because if you just do this on a shadowy ghost way of just slowly introducing it to you until suddenly you have a whole new generation of players that's never known any better, it's like you're basically hoodwinking every single veteran in the game, and you are no longer selling the product that you initially did.
I wouldn't call it hoodwinking. I'd call it directly manipulative.
Hold on. Let's be real here. That's the only way they could have ever done it. Because they are too fucking cowardly to come out and say it, because they know what it would do to their subscription numbers overnight.
It might actually.
The thing is, like, they don't need to come. Like, I'm sorry, but I'll let you go after me, Caleb. But like, the thing is, they don't need to come out and say, like, this is the stated fact. We're not moving from this new ideology. Like, they could come out and basically say, like, look, the times, the times are completely different nowadays compared to 2010. Yeah. Like, we have to sort of change and adapt and that kind of thing. Like, our key values were this. We're kind of thinking like we want to move to this, right? Is it, but we want to have a debate. We want to have a discussion on it. Like, and that would be good. That would be healthy. That would, they could get the feedback that's required. That people kind of would say like, well, that's an issue because of this. That's an issue because of that. Like, have you thought about going, approaching it this way or that way, kind of thing? Like, they can get some good positive feedback, and they could, keep their community more informed as to the direction that they want to take the company and they want to take the product, but they don't.
They would have to.
Hang on, Caleb.
Well, I was just going to say that the main thing is, again, who is the audience, right? And you can't keep selling or marketing this game as if it's still what it was 8 years or more ago. You have to then say, okay, we are moving in this direction because we need a new player base. We need to actually cater to a new generation of players. I would even say that that's almost valid, but then you have to say that, and you have to say, we are changing the ideology to this. We want to move in this direction. We want to do these things. And yes, it's fundamentally changing what you know about EVE Online, but if you look at it, that has already happened, right? So I'm almost going to say I'm okay with being substituted for a younger generation of players, because the Eve that I knew is stone fucking dead. It does not exist anymore. And this was like just the last fucking straw. I know that everyone is drawing the line with this whole barge thing, but it's really... it fundamentally was a discussion we had when we talked about all the noob ships that were being magically created into the economy. That is a significantly higher number if you start looking at actual labor and actual raw materials coming into the game than this barge thing. And when we discussed that, it was just brushed aside as, that's not a relevant number, and think of the new bro. It's like, yeah, but think of the industrialist. Like, the amount is not that expensive. There's other ways that you can introduce these things to the economy without hurting the actual ecosystem. I was suggesting that if you want to do something like barges like this, develop a dynamic purchasing system for NPCs, so that every time you hand over a ship like this to a new player for real money, you then buy it with ISK from the existing player base. And if you want to make sure that it's safe, just delete a Plex each time from the banned accounts. This is perfectly possible.
But that doesn't fix the real problem here.
I have a dumb question. Did we have a deficit of this ship that couldn't be fulfilled?
Yes, technically.
Not really.
Hold on.
Yes, Dirk. Yes, Dirk. Because I want to go with my Reddit comment. Because I know where you're going, Eric. I'll let you finish it first. But
no. I'm asking you guys, right? Was there a deficit of this ship where the price was spiraling out of control?
Yes. Yes.
It wasn't spiraling out of control yet.
It had gone from 25 million to 50 million for the ship. It's doubled in price after industry changes, right?
We have to say the root cause of this was CCP ratfuck, and I'm not even going with the Ratatouille meme anymore. CCP ratfuck decided that we needed 2 years of like physical mineral scarcity to fix an ecosystem problem.
Okay.
Was
hold on.
a thing that players have been talking about.
I'm just playing dumb here, so just answer my questions, right? So they announced these mining changes, right? And now this ship is kind of a big deal because of those mining changes recently.
Mm-hmm.
So since that announcement, did they spike?
No, they spiked based on the industry changes.
Right. That's a non-reason to introduce the ship, right? So
not quite.
So
this is what I got in my Reddit comment, right? Like, they have told us for 2 years that scarcity was for the betterment of the game.
Yeah, we know that.
To drive down stockpiles, to make the game healthier.
Right.
And then they have pulled this.
Well, but we didn't get actual scarcity.
Caleb,
we got austerity.
Caleb,
there's a huge fucking difference.
Caleb, hold on. The mask has well and truly slipped off at this point. It wasn't for the betterment of the game. It was so they could make people desperate enough to buy packs like this.
And maybe. I'm trying to keep conjecture out of it. Let me go. Okay. I'm trying to understand. Is there a game reason that we can say? By the way, I have a real world example of this, which I may or may not use later, but which is funny as hell. But anyway, so I'm trying to figure out. There's ships on the market; they can be had. They are out there based on the cost of the goods to produce them, and we have people who are producing them. It wasn't like everybody suddenly stopped producing this ship, right? This ship's on the market; it's available, but it costs X, right? And so can
I just ask one question? Can I ask a question before you continue?
Yeah,
have anyone actually calculated the price parity of this ISK to dollars? Because if they are deliberately selling it cheaper than the conversion of the equivalent Plex price, they're basically killing the Plex price market, right?
No,
the price of a retriever is about to the dollar is about 74 cents or about €59, something along those lines.
They're selling the ship
59 cents in euros.
and the skill points injected for the ship at roughly $5 or something. $5.
So it's $5 for the ship
to
right?
About 100 plex, I think. And that gets worse if you buy multiple, because you don't get the skill points that are associated with the skills. You can buy multiple. You don't get the skills injected again. You don't get the skill points again.
Okay,
you
make 100 characters. You get all the skill points, and then you can pull them out and sell them later. Okay, so I'm just saying
you can buy the pack over and over again.
Yeah,
you just don't get the skill points.
I understand that, but you can make 100 characters and buy 100
of
them and use the skill points, right?
The pack is very good for developing your own sort of like alt like a mining army.
I get
it. Really so it's not even for the new bros.
No, it's not.
That's
really not. Just looking at lying shit.
I can easily abuse this, right? So that's one thing. But I'm just sitting there going,
they'd love you to abuse it.
Why would we even create a ship that we don't have demand for, that we can't fulfill by our current industrialists? Right? The only result of that they could ever come to, if they used one cell of their brain, is to screw over a customer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. I mean, it's 74 cents for the ship. Okay, it's $5. Okay, I don't have to fly to Jeddah. For $5, I don't have to go to Jeddah or wherever the hell this ship is produced and move it where I want it.
The really hilarious thing is that pre-scarcity, the pre-era of scarcity, the price of a retriever, as pointed out, was 25 million-esque, which means that pre their own actions, a retriever was worth 37 cents.
Can we get time tanking on structures for money? I think that would actually be fucking valid.
It's
you guys, the CCP are just kind of like grasping at fucking straws. As for Goonie DuPont's question of converting prices into rubles, one plex, Horrendous did some maths, and it's somewhere up around one plex for 6.5 rubles or something.
You're gonna have to recalculate that every day, though.
Yeah.
A week ago, it was at 5.4 rubles or something.
Well, the price has already changed since you finished that sentence.
So here's the thing: we can come up with no reason. And by the way, we're up to 2 minutes left here. We really come up with no reason why they would do this for the game, other than to generate their own internal revenue. And they had no problem with screwing over their own players who are industrialists that might make this
customers,
right?
I think we need to start.
I
think we actually need to start making that distinction when we talk about this publicly.
I may have written that in an article 5 years ago, right?
They're not talking. CCP have this internal thing about, they're the players. That they are, playing our game. They're interacting with our game, but they're not. They have this idea that players are not customers, even if it's paid for. Right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I mean, they're.
I think we need to start making that distinction when we start talking about anything, right? We're not talking about the players. We're talking about the customers.
Man, Cheetah, sure he edited the article.
I saw that article.
Yeah, you probably did.
Do you think
I
that
maybe doing that last night? Right, it was something we were writing, and every mention of players that I put in there, he went customers.
Yeah, and it's.
Do you think that maybe that this is a potential sort of like, trial to see if this can create more whales? Because what I'm saying. Sorry, what?
I just don't understand. I don't understand CCP's thought process here, right? And it would be like if I wrote an email to Hilmar and says, explain this to me. It would start out with "help me understand." And those who actually know me in real life, if I say "help me understand," that means I think you're fucking stupid and did something wrong. Okay, and I can't even fathom where your brain came up with this, right? So, I mean, that's I'm sure the meta show, so everybody stick around. Make sure you're there for the meta show. It's going to be amazing. And we're going to run around and we're going to do one last thing. And I'm going to start with Bargos because we're out of time, guys. So, Bargos, what's your one last?
I don't know. I guess $4,000 Titans when?
Lol.
I would just like to, on behalf of all the veterans that, of course, agree with me on this, wish the new generation good luck and have fun in EVE Online. If you ever want to hear old war stories of back when the game was actually fucking good, strike us up. We are still hanging around in different chats, but I think we are all slowly leaving the fucking game because it's dead, Jim.
She won't have heard that.
I said CCP earlier this week when the news dropped that I had never really anticipated a point where I would seriously think that the multiple hours a week that I spend on in-game diplomacy, that I spend on editorial and these shows, on helping to run tournaments, like, would ever be worthwhile. I never actually had that question that I would have to think, is this worthwhile anymore? Am I doing something that is better than what I could be doing elsewhere? And I had that point earlier this week when CCP started selling ships for real money, and I don't get it. I really don't. I'm struggling to understand what the possible fucking logic could be for driving your own perspective, your own principles into the dirt quite so much as you have. But Jesus Christ, fix it.
Oh, and I do have an apology for Soth. I was wrong. You were right. I eat my hat.
Okay.
And that's no, but that's very adult of you, Caleb.
Well, it's just the last 2 years I've been saying, oh, they'll fix it. They'll fix it.
Oh.
clearly, Soth was right. They're not going to fix it.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, we never have to say you're sorry amongst this group, guys and lady.
Comprehend. I really don't comprehend what the hell is happening, and it doesn't make sense. Why the hell would anybody make the decision to alienate their customers in this way? Alienate the players, the people who actually give a shit. We spend more hours than we want to think about putting time into this game, and you want to invalidate it by just completely ignoring our feedback on topics. I just don't get it, guys. Fix it, please. I want to continue doing this.
It's a 2020 trend, right? All the childhood fandom things are gonna get fucking murdered. You're gonna be left with nothing.
All right, Soth,
if it carries on this way, I can't do it.
Next.
I think we need something positive here, and the only positive thing left in EVE that I can think of is the Anger Games.
There you go, baby.
Yay!
Hey, Soth, can I buy my ships and just fill my team with ships I bought in the Anger Games? Is that okay?
I really want that. If you want to send me money for every ship you field, that is not a requirement, but I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, Soth and I will work out.
It's not like I hate money.
Can we have the dates for the Anger Games, sir? What's the dates? What are we doing?
No. Way more important.
Okay.
For now, because it's soon. Next week on Sunday, 1700. We're going to have the first open practices here on INN.
Nice.
So if you want to see the first matches between actual teams in the Anger Games, tune in next week on Sunday on this channel, 1700.
1700 right?
As for dates, we have feeders happening on the 30th of March, not March, April. 30th of April, feeders, and then we're going live for 3 weekends on CCP's Twitch channel from the 27th of May.
Boy, we bitched this much about CCP, and they still let you guys on this channel. On their channel.
It happened before that.
So, on behalf of Shira and myself, could we have like the golden retriever match to open the Anger Games?
Retrievers only. You'll have to do it on INN because I guarantee CCP won't let something like that happen.
Golden retrievers, I love it. That's it. All right, is that all Soth, or you have more?
No, that's all.
Okay, McLeod.
I mean, I'd like to say I regret that. It's a regrettable thing that Caleb's deciding to leave the game. But I think the only comment that I have to make about that is, can I have your stuff?
Sure, I will contract it to you.
Whoa, Caleb, I missed the opportunity.
Caleb,
he's got a contract to do stuff, and you'll double it in return.
That doesn't mean you have to leave the show. We just want to be clear with that. You don't have to play.
Oh, sure. We can still talk about food and stuff, but Eve stuff, I will be completely ignorant. I only know about the history of Eve.
Yeah. So,
when it was good.
But in all seriousness, like, you know, to CCP, we need to know where your head's at with this stuff, because right now, like, there is a void. There is like you know, there is a void that like everybody's assumptions are just basically being put out there, and, you know, basically filling that void. And I can assure you that our assumptions on it are probably a hell of a lot worse than what your actual kind of, you know, thought process on it is. But if we know your thought process, then we at least can talk to you guys about it, and maybe, you know, you might be able to see, like, firstly, you might be able to see the errors in what you're trying to do, but also we might see the errors in where we're trying to assume what you're trying to do. So please, just so, you know, key us in.
So
you mean what we've been saying for the last 4 years?
Yeah, but like,
so,
you know,
communicate.
I have to make that, like, you know, if I don't make that you know, that like appeal to them, like, I don't know, like,
I fully respect that you're making that appeal, but we have been making that same appeal for the last 4 years.
All right,
it is, you know, it is clear they don't get it.
So my one last thing kind of exemplifies this, and should put this all in perspective for you guys, right? So, you guys know I'm on other boards and do other things, and this week I witnessed a corporation, okay, raise some rates on some of their members as much as 48 and 45%. Okay. And we asked them, why are you charging those people so much more this year than last year? Is there a reason, right? And apply this to how CCP thinks, because CCP doesn't give a shit what you think, and in spite of what everybody thinks. They're here to make money, and they don't care. So remember, these people are their customers. They're going to charge more on a monthly basis, right? And we said, so what's the reasoning from corporate on this? And they said, well, we want to reduce compaction. This is the actual word used. So we delved into what compaction meant, right? Well, we believe that 100 of our customers will no longer be here if we do this. And we don't care, because the ones that remain, we will make more money on a monthly basis on their fees. Okay,
yeah, that's what I meant.
This is how corporations think. This is how they operate. So if CCP believes this is in their own financial interest to do whatever they're doing, they're going to do it whether you care or not. And it doesn't matter if there's some principle that they stated years ago that they're violating or doing something different. This is how it's going to be. This is a real world story. Okay,
yeah.
I'm not kidding. By the way, 45% or 48% isn't a dollar or two, it's hundreds of dollars, right? And, you know, they believe, and by the way, so imagine if you could only have X number of customers, let's say 650, and 650 of those, 100 of those 650 would disappear. and you believe that if you bring another 100 in and change things just at the opening cost, not long-term cost, just day one revenue would be $1.6 million, right? So think of that in terms of what CCP thinks and what they do as a corporation. It's not any different. Many corporations don't care about. Many corporations don't. I'm not saying there's equivalence, but understand it doesn't matter. They're a company. They're here to make money, and they're going to make money. Now,
I fully agree.
If we all decide, like Caleb, quit the game, and my question back to this company is, what is the cost of a customer? What is the cost of acquisition of a customer? And what is the value of the customer that you have today? Right? Have you made that calculation? And the answer was no. We believe that this customer and this customer, these two customers types, use something in the game equivalently, but this customer pays a lot less for that item. Okay, now let me go this. But this customer over here that's paying more, this customer has the capability to use 10 more items than this customer can even use. So the cost of the customer that's paying more is higher than the cost of the customer that doesn't pay more, right? So that's kind of what we're working through. So, I mean, corporations don't always think through everything. CCP probably hasn't thought through every aspect of this. They are probably looking at it in a one-dimensional way, and it's probably how much revenue can I generate new that looks new on the books, and keeps me in the green and keeps me from being yelled at by my superiors or my owners, right? I'm sure. That's kind of my one last thing. I mean, understand, CCP really doesn't care. They think we are replaceable, and in the grand scheme of things, to a degree, we are replaceable. And they will get people that come in that don't bitch and moan about them because, hey, they never knew anything different, right? And by the way, the trend in gaming is buy things, right?
Exactly.
So they're going with the trend, so they want to make money, right? So, but I'm really interested to hear the meta show. It will be amazing and awesome, so everybody stay around. So thank you, all of you, for coming one weekend again. Caleb, please do not be a stranger. You're welcome every single week, always.
I will still be playing the crazy stuff that we do.
Okay.
I just won't give any more money to CCP at all.
So I mean that's just we're just not like that, and we would never be like that. So but thank you, everyone. Thank you to the audience for being here and listening to us yammer about all the stupid things. Thank you to McLeod for this beautiful drink. Please do type the recipe into our chat, because I really want to drink that drink a lot. Everybody, you have a wonderful weekend. Meta show in less than an hour. And that said, I gotta look at the right button to push.
45 minutes.
45 minutes. We're so terrible. Later, everyone. You have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Oh, that was perfect.